Hi again. In this tutorial I want to show you all the basic controls of the photo animator. Everything you need to know to animate your first pictures. So when you open the photo animator file, it will look something like this, given that you have set the workspace as I showed you in the getting started tutorial. So you have two main folders, the edit and the no edit. Of course you should only work with the edit folder. There you have the two resolutions, Full HD and Ultra HD. In this tutorial I'm going to work with the Full HD resolution. So the first thing we do before we animate a picture, we save the project file under a new name. So I'm going to save it under a new name, and since I'm going to animate a man in front of a lake, I'm going to name this man.aep. Okay, so the first thing that we do is import a picture. We can simply double click in here, browse for our picture. In this case I'm going for this one. Now we have to put it into the put source composition. We double click on it. It should be open here. We can drag it in here. And now we have a canvas where it should fill the whole picture. So we click on the layer, we hit S for scale, and then we scale it until it covers the whole canvas. Something like this. Then we double click on the set mask composition. In this composition we're going to draw all the masks that we need. The first mask is always the environment mask. You should always try to aim for selecting the background with the mask. Everything else will expand around the mask and will become the foreground the further it gets from the background. So with the first mask always try to include the background. When you draw a mask you have to select the pen tool and make sure that the mask layer is selected, otherwise you draw a shape mask that you don't want. So for the background I'm gonna include these stones as well so they won't get distorted, and everything here. This is our background mask we're gonna work with. Let's move on to the animation composition. We double click on it. So now you can see that there have already the layers being created. You have your crosshairs and the control layers, particle and text controls, and here are the crosshairs you're going to move the picture with. So the control layer has a bunch of effect controls. You have to open them up here. Usually when you start animating the picture and touch a crosshair, these effects will go away because they are connected to the controls layers. That is why I recommend to have them locked in here. Put the lock, and now they will stay here all the time. First let me show what everything does. So we have 4 crosshairs here, 4 pickers. The yellow one moves the whole picture. The blue one, the red one, moves mainly the foreground, so everything that is furthest from our original mask. The blue one moves mainly the mask and everything that is near to it. With the green picker we can turn all plates and objects which are inside our animation. Since there is none right now, this has no effect. In the controls layers we have all the effects, and I'm going to show you what they do. The visual head mode is activated right now, that's why you see all these layers. If we disable it, we have a clear picture. But it's good to have it on for the animation part so you know what you're actually doing. The magic layer connection connects all the layers at its edges. We will turn it off for now, so the project is a bit faster, works faster, but we turn it on for rendering. The same goes for the wind and waves effect. If you have set wind and waves, what I'm going to show you in a different tutorial, you can turn them on right here, but I would recommend to only do it right before rendering. Then we got the layer size mask 1. This defines the thickness of each layer. So what you usually want to do is have it at a value that the whole picture is covered with layers, something like this. Then we got the edge blur or feather. This blurs the edges of each layer. So now everything is very blurred and now it's crystal sharp. Then we got the expansion of the off target. Off target is everything that is outside the mask. So the target is what we have masked, it's the background. So off target means the foreground, and if we want to expand the foreground, the weighting of the expansion is mainly on the outside layers. The opposite is the expansion contraction of the target. The target is the background itself, and this will contract mainly the background. If you want to use this, you can create something like a vertigo effect. So the background will be pulled away, but at the same time you could scale inside the picture. So the background will, it's like moving the camera and also changing the focal length at the same time. Then we got the blur amount. This is like camera blur. We can set it to a value of 20 right now, so we can see the background is blurred. Which part of the picture is being blurred is defined by the focus layer. So now the focus is on layer 1. Layer 1 is the one furthest from background. It's this down here and somewhere up there. And if we want to have the background in focus, we just switch it to layer 8, and now the background layer is in focus. So the background is layer number 8, and then we have layer number 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So these are all the main controls. Of course, you can create keyframes for every value and change them and have many keyframes and create your animation with those. And that's what we are going to do right now. So first thing, you're gonna choose for length of your animation. We can simply say it's 3 seconds and 0 frames. Then our time slider will jump to the 3-second mark, and we can arrange our workspace accordingly. By the way, if you hold shift, this will snap to the time slider. Also keyframes will do the same. Now let's move inside the picture. A very simple but also effective way of animating a picture. So first thing is we're going to do with the expansion of target. So we hit the stopwatch. This will create a keyframe in the controls layer right here. And then we move back to the 3-second mark and say maybe we want to have a value of 3. So if we disable the visual help mode and have a quick render preview. Okay, we already have now the expression that we flying into the picture. But we want to add some camera movement as well. It's always nice to have the blue and red crosshair going in opposite directions. So that is what we're going right now. So first we click on the red crosshair, hit P for position, make a keyframe, go back in time, and maybe move it like this. As we can see, we have created another keyframe. So now over time the red crosshair moves from the middle position to the left. We're going to do the opposite for the blue crosshair. We click on it, hit P, click on the stopwatch, and move back in time, and move it to the right a little bit. Something like this. By the way, if you want to have the position back to the original, you can always go click on the position and reset it in case you want it at the center again. Okay, let's hit 0 for a render preview. Okay, as we can see, we are moving inside the picture, but now the camera also turns slightly to the left. This will also bring a lot of layer steppings in here, which is really nasty. I mean, this is the man, he will be covered by the object we're going to create in a second anyway, but still here, a reflection of the stone, you see like really nasty layer breakings. This is where our magic layer connection plays its big part. We simply check it and all the layers are being connected. Although there are some limits to the magic layer connection, it works most of the times, but if you making extreme camera movements, there will start to show some waves at the edges of the layers. But for most animations it just smooths the whole thing and gets rid of these nasty steppings. So, but since this is kind of render intensive, I will activate it only before we render the whole thing. So for now I disable it again. So the next thing we want to do is add our object, the man. Right now the man is part of the background and is being distorted pretty much, but we want to have it as an own object. So what we're gonna do is go to the set mask composition and draw a second mask for the man. This will take a little more than the first mask because this needs to be a little more precise. So I'm gonna speed this up, but you will see what I'm doing. Okay, so now we have masked the man. We can go back to the animation composition. So now a new script of Photo Animator version 5 will be applied. You simply need to click the Create Objects for Mask 1080. This is because we're in the project or a 1080p project. If you're working with the Ultra HD project, you need to click this one. But now we're going to click this one. Here you have some things to choose from. First, you're going to choose which mask the object is being created from. So since this is the second mask, we should select this one. If you're having many objects and want to turn them into objects all at the same time, you can click the first. Except first mask means because the first mask is usually for the environment. So I'm going to choose the second mask. I'm also going to show you the shrink for background, which is a feature I want to hear what you think about. And I'm going to show you in a second. And you can decide for a name of the objects. Let's name it man. Create object. So now we have additional two pickers. One is to move the man, and the other is to create a turn effect, like this. So on the first crosshair on the man, you also got some controls, but since we have locked this control layer, we have to unlock it, so we're gonna see the controls of the object. So these are the controls. First, you have the wind and waves on object. If you have created wind and waves, you can decide if they also should be applied to the object or just on the background. Then we have the object edge blur. This blurs the edge of the object. Let's move it to the side so you see what it does. It blurs the edge. Pretty obvious. So then we have the edge depth visual help mode. So the turn picker turns or gives the impression that the object is turning, and right here you can see how this picker is affecting the man. This is the depth map of the turn picker. White means a lot of effect and gray means no effect, and then there's something in between. So we can change this right here. So now everything has a lot of effect and only the edge has some effect. So most of the object is being turned, but we can also make something like this. So there's a smooth blending between the edge and the middle of the object, and then this turn picker will effect differently. So then we have the global effectiveness and the global turn effectiveness. This is the green picker I told you about. This will turn all objects in plate at the same time. You can see how it's affecting the object. But sometimes you want one object or the other to be less affected. Maybe if it's very far in the background, it should be affected less. So that's what you can do here. If we have it like really low, there is like hardly an effect when moving the global turn picker. Then we have the object scale. Yeah, this scales the whole object. Then we got the receive blur checkbox. If activated, the object will receive blur, which you set in the controls layer. So the slider beneath it defines where the object lies in terms of focus. So if we have it at layer number 3, the focus, and we go back to the controls layer and see that the focus is at layer number 3, we can see that the object is in focus. And if we put the focus on layer number 8, the object is out of focus. So this is where you decide where your object lies in terms of focus. And the last option we got is the shrink background slider. Sometimes if you moving an object, animating a picture, you will see the object behind in the background as well, like here. And I tried to come up with an effect to minimize this. So this will shrink the background and also hides the object sometimes. It doesn't work great, so that's why it's still better. It will help sometimes, so that's why I left it in the release. But I will try to come up with something better in the future. But for now, sometimes it might help you, sometimes it won't. so you know it's there and maybe it helps you. I hope it does. Okay, so let's go back to our animation. We remember that we were flying inside the picture and the camera turned slightly to the left. Now we have to cover with the object, with the man who's also in the background. Since the camera moves inside the picture, the object will get much bigger, so we will use that to cover up the man in the background. For this, we're gonna set keyframes, first for object scale, but also for the position of the man itself. Then we move back in time to the end of the animation and scale the object pretty much, and also move it so it totally covers the man in the background. Oh, something like this. Maybe it needs to be a little bigger. Yeah. Something like this. Then we want to add some camera blur. So we click on the controls layer. We unlock it because this is still the object's controls. Now we have the controls of the control layer. And we want to animate the camera blur. We will have it set on a value 20. Then we move to second 0. First, the focus should be in the background, like it is right now. We hit the stopwatch. Then we go back in time, and at the last time, at the end of the animation, we want to have the focus on layer number 1. Let's make sure that the focus of the object is also at layer 1. Yes, it is. So now the focus shifts from the background to the foreground, like this. Then we still got these nasty layer breakings, which we can see in the stone, in the reflection of the stone in the water right here, and also in the clouds right there. So we click on the controls layers and click the magic layer connection. So you can see it will give us some blackness right here. So I'm just going to scale everything like a tiny bit, maybe 1.5. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 1.7. So now we are pretty much done. I hit 0 for a render preview. So this looks pretty nice, I think. So let's render this. We simply need to hit Control M, which will bring up your render queue, and then you can do your settings like the frame rate and the resolution. You can choose for a format. I use QuickTime, and maybe you want to use H.264. Then you click OK, then you choose a place where this should be rendered to. And you can hit render. And that's it. These are the basic controls you need to know. In the following tutorials I will show you the wind and waves and other effects. Okay, see you soon. Bye bye.